The Forgotten Guardian. Captain Sarah Chen pressed her face against the observation deck window of the UES Prometheus, watching the distant stars that had become her only companions over the past 5 years. At 38, she had expected to be commanding a fleet by now, not babysitting what Earth Command called their greatest mistake. The Prometheus drifted silently through the void at the very edge of human space, so far from civilization that supply ships visited only twice a year. "Another exciting day in paradise," muttered Lieutenant Commander Marcus Webb, the ship's tactical officer. He was sprawled in his chair at the weapons console, playing solitaire on his tablet. The man was brilliant with military strategy, but 5 years of inactivity had made him cynical. "Coffee's cold again, Captain. Replicators acting up." Sarah turned from the window with a sigh. The bridge of the Prometheus was impressive by any standard, filled with sleek consoles and advanced displays that most Earth Defense Force ships could only dream of. But impressive technology meant nothing when you were stuck in the middle of nowhere with a crew of 12, watching empty space for threats that never came. "Chief Ramirez, can you take a look at the replicator?" Sarah asked the ship's engineer, a stocky woman in her 40s who somehow kept their experimental systems running despite having no manual for half of them. Elena Ramirez looked up from the engineering station, where she was running diagnostics. "I can try, Captain, but everything on this ship is prototype technology. Half the time I'm just guessing how things work." She shrugged. "The good news is our power core is running at 102% efficiency, which according to physics shouldn't be possible." Dr. James Harrison, the ship's science officer, glanced up from his research station. He was a quiet man in his 50s who had helped design the Prometheus before being exiled with it to the outer rim. "That's because we're not using normal physics, Elena. This ship combines human engineering with technology we barely understand." Sarah had heard rumors about the ship's mysterious origins, but the classified files were locked beyond her security clearance. All she knew was that the Prometheus had been built as humanity's answer to unknown threats, then deemed too dangerous, and shipped off to the frontier with a skeleton crew. "Contact from Earth Command," announced Communications Officer Lisa Park, a young woman who had volunteered for the assignment hoping to gain experience. What she got instead was 5 years of relaying weather reports and supply requests. "It's the weekly check-in, Captain." "Put them through," Sarah said, settling into her command chair. The main screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Rodriguez at Earth Defense Headquarters. The old man looked tired, probably dealing with another budget meeting or political crisis. "Prometheus reporting, Admiral." "All quiet on the frontier," Sarah said with practiced boredom. "Good to hear, Captain Chen. Any equipment failures to report? The replicator's acting up again, and we're still waiting for those replacement parts from 6 months ago." Admiral Rodriguez nodded absently. "I'll see what I can do. Anything else?" Before Sarah could respond, sensor operator Tim Brooks suddenly straightened at his station. The young man had been monitoring long-range sensors for 3 years without detecting anything more exciting than asteroids. Now his face was pale as he stared at his displays. "Captain, I'm picking up massive contacts on the outer sensor grid," Tim said, his voice cracking slightly. "Really massive. I count. This can't be right." Sarah spun her chair toward him. "What are you seeing, Brooks?" "Over 150 large vessels, approaching from the Vega sector. They're maintaining formation and moving directly toward Earth." Tam's hands flew over his controls, trying to refine the readings. "Captain, these ships are huge. The smallest ones are twice the size of our heavy cruisers." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of machinery. Admiral Rodriguez leaned forward on the screen. "Prometheus, confirmed at reading immediately." Dr. Harrison was already moving to the sensor station, his scientific mind taking over. "Tim, show me the raw data." He studied the displays for several long minutes while everyone waited. Finally, he looked up with grim certainty. "It's confirmed, Admiral. Unknown fleet of approximately 160 vessels, bearing directly for Earth. They'll reach the inner system in 18 hours. Admiral Rodriguez's face went gray. Captain Chen, maintain your position and continue monitoring. Do not, repeat, do not engage. We're scrambling every available ship. Sir, with respect, how many ships can Earth defense muster? Sarah asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. 42 vessels, including patrol ships and training craft, the Admiral admitted. It's everything we have. Sarah felt her stomach drop. 42 ships against over 150 unknowns was not odds anyone wanted to face. Admiral, request permission to return to Earth and join the defense fleet. Negative, Captain. The Prometheus is to maintain position. You're our early warning system out there. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Sarah looked around at her crew, seeing the same mixture of fear and frustration on their faces that she felt. They had trained for this moment, but everyone had assumed it would never come. Captain, Dr. Harrison said quietly, there's something you need to know about this ship, something that was classified when we were sent out here. Sarah turned to face him. What are you talking about, Doctor? Harrison moved to his science station and began entering authorization codes that Sarah had never seen him use before. The Prometheus wasn't sent out here because it was a failure. It was sent out here because it was too successful. The main display changed to show technical schematics and classified documents that made Sarah's eyes widen. The ship's true capabilities were far beyond anything she had imagined. The power core isn't just advanced human technology, Harrison continued. It's based on captured alien technology from 3 different species. When our scientists combined it with human engineering, they created something unprecedented. The weapons systems, the shields, the engines, they're all hybrid technology that we barely understand, but that works beyond our wildest dreams. Chief Ramirez stared at the schematics in amazement. This explains why nothing on this ship makes sense. We're running systems that operate on principles our textbooks say are impossible. Why weren't we told? Sarah demanded. Because the first full power test nearly tore a hole in space-time, Harrison replied grimly. The weapons can disintegrate matter at the molecular level. The shields can deflect anything short of a supernova. The engines can fold space itself. Earth Command decided it was too dangerous to use. Lieutenant Commander Webb looked up from the tactical displays he was now studying with new interest. Captain, if what the doctor is saying is true, this ship could take on that entire alien fleet, or it could destroy half the solar system trotting, Harrison warned. The systems have never been fully tested together. Sarah stood and walked to the center of the bridge, feeling the weight of an impossible decision settling on her shoulders. 18 hours from now, an alien armada would reach Earth. 42 human ships would try to stop them, and would almost certainly fail. The only thing that might make a difference was a prototype warship with untested weapons and a crew of 12 people who had been forgotten by the galaxy. Through the bridge speakers, they could hear Communications Officer Park monitoring emergency channels from Earth. Evacuation orders were being broadcast. Colonies were preparing for the worst. Children were saying goodbye to parents who might not return from the defense fleet. Doctor, how long would it take to bring all systems online? Sarah asked. If everything works correctly, 6 hours. If something goes wrong. He shrugged helplessly. Sarah looked out at the stars one more time, then turned to face her crew. We swore an oath to defend Earth and humanity. We've been sitting out here for 5 years while other people fought and died. Now it's our turn. She moved to her command chair and activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the captain. In 18 hours, an alien force will attack Earth. We are going to stop them. What you're about to learn will seem impossible, but I need every one of you to trust me and do your jobs. Chief Ramirez, begin bringing all experimental systems online. Dr. Harrison, I want every classified file unlocked. Mr. Webb, start planning how 12 people are going to fight 160 alien warships. As her crew rushed to their tasks with new purpose, Sarah felt something she hadn't experienced in 5 years. Hope. The Prometheus had been forgotten by Earth Command, dismissed as a failed experiment, and hidden away where it couldn't cause trouble. But sometimes the things people try to forget are exactly what they need when everything else fails. The massive alien fleet continued its relentless advance toward Earth, confident in their overwhelming numbers and superior technology. They had conquered dozens of worlds using the same tactics: appear in overwhelming force, demand surrender, and crush any resistance. They had no idea that humanity's greatest weapon was drifting silently in the dark, manned by a crew that had been waiting 5 years for this moment. The Prometheus began to change as its experimental systems came online. Lights that had been dim for years blazed to life. Weapon ports that had never fired a shot in anger began to glow with contained energy. The ship's hull itself seemed to shimmer as exotic shielding technologies activated for the first time since construction. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of what might be the most powerful warship ever built, watching her forgotten crew prepare to remind the galaxy why humanity had earned its place among the stars. In a few hours, they would either save their homeworld or die trying. The real battle was about to begin. The Awakening Storm. 6 hours after the decision was made, the UES Prometheus no longer resembled the quiet research vessel that had drifted at the edge of space for 5 years. Every system hummed with barely contained power as exotic technologies merged human engineering with alien sciences in ways that challenged the laws of physics themselves. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the center of the bridge, watching status displays that showed energy readings her crew had never seen before. Chief Ramirez wiped sweat from her forehead as she monitored the power core, which was now drawing energy from dimensions that existed parallel to their own reality. "Captain, I'm reading power levels that should be impossible," Ramirez reported, her voice filled with equal parts excitement and terror. "The quantum resonance chamber is stable, the dimensional taps are holding, and the molecular disruptor arrays are charging. But Sarah, if even one system fails catastrophically, we could take out everything within a light-year radius." Dr. Harrison looked up from his science station, where he was coordinating the activation of systems that existed more in theory than practice. "The good news is that all 3 alien technologies are syncing with our human control systems better than we hoped. The bad news is that we're about to become the most dangerous thing in the galaxy." Lieutenant Commander Webb was studying tactical displays that showed capabilities no human had ever wielded in combat. "Captain, according to these readouts, our main weapons can destroy a ship by unmaking it at the quantum level. Our point defense systems can track and eliminate thousands of targets simultaneously. And our shields—" He paused, shaking his head in disbelief. "Our shields can absorb the energy output of a star." Communications Officer Park suddenly looked up from her station with wide eyes. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from the alien fleet. They're broadcasting on all frequencies." "Put it on screen," Sarah ordered. The main display filled with the image of a being that was clearly not human. It stood nearly 8 feet tall, with gray skin, 4 arms, and eyes that glowed with cold intelligence. When it spoke, the words were translated by the ship's computer into perfect English. "I am Fleet Admiral Korthak of the Dominion Empire. Humans of Earth, your species has been selected for integration into our domain. You will surrender your military forces, dismantle your defenses, and prepare your population for relocation. You have 12 hours to comply. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of your homeworld." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in grim silence. Through the sensor displays, they could see the alien armada had spread into attack formation, surrounding Earth's defense fleet like a pack of predators circling wounded prey. "Captain," Tim Brooks called from the sensor station, "I'm tracking the engagement. Earth's fleet is trying to form a defensive line near Jupiter, but they're outnumbered almost 4 to 1. Sarah watched the tactical display with growing dread. 42 human ships, including her old friends and former crewmates, were preparing to face an empire that had conquered star systems across the galaxy. They would fight bravely, but courage alone wouldn't be enough against such overwhelming odds. "Dr. Harrison, are all systems ready?" she asked. "As ready as they'll ever be, Captain. But I have to warn you one more time. We've never tested these systems in actual combat. We don't know how they'll interact under stress." Sarah nodded, then activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. In 10 minutes, we're going to do something that's never been attempted before. We're going to engage an enemy fleet that outnumbers us 160 to 1. Our ship was built for this moment, even if we didn't know it. Trust your training, trust each other, and trust in human ingenuity. Earth is counting on us." She turned to her tactical officer. "Mr. Webb, plot an intercept course that will put us between the alien fleet and Earth's defense force. Captain, that will put us directly in the path of their entire armada," Webb warned. "Exactly where we need to be," Sarah replied firmly. The Prometheus changed course, its exotic engines bending space around the ship in ways that allowed it to cross vast distances in minutes rather than hours. As they approached the alien fleet, every sensor on the ship screamed warnings about the massive energy signatures they were detecting. "Captain, the aliens are scanning us," Park reported. "They're probably wondering what one small ship thinks it's doing." "Let them wonder," Sarah said grimly. "Mr. Webb, target their flagship. Dr. Harrison, are the molecular disruptors ready?" "Charged and locked on target, Captain," Harrison replied, his hands steady despite the magnitude of what they were about to attempt. The Prometheus dropped out of its space, full directly in front of the alien armada, its exotic shielding systems creating a shimmering barrier that confused enemy sensors. For a moment, both fleets paused, uncertain what to make of this single human vessel that had appeared between them. Fleet Admiral Korthak's image appeared on their screen again, his expression showing contempt mixed with curiosity. "Human vessel, you are ordered to withdraw immediately. One ship cannot stand against the might of the Dominion Empire." Captain Chen stood and faced the alien commander with the calm confidence of someone who had nothing left to lose. "Admiral Korthak, I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Prometheus. You have threatened my homeworld and my people. Withdraw your fleet now, or face the consequences." The alien admiral's laugh was like the sound of breaking glass. "One human ship against 160 Dominion warships. Your species' arrogance will be your destruction." "We'll see about that," Sarah replied, then cut the transmission. She turned to her crew with a slight smile. "Gentlemen, ladies, let's show them what human engineering can do. Mr. Webb, fire when ready." The Prometheus unleashed hell. The molecular disruptor beam that lanced out from the ship's main weapon array didn't just destroy the alien flagship, it unmade it. The massive warship simply ceased to exist, its atoms scattered across dimensional boundaries, as reality itself was rewritten around it. The effect was so sudden and complete that for several seconds, no one on either side could process what had just happened. Then the alien fleet reacted with predictable fury. Over 150 warships opened fire simultaneously, sending enough destructive energy toward the Prometheus to vaporize a small moon. The attack should have ended the battle before it truly began. Instead, the exotic shielding systems absorbed every joule of energy and converted it into power for the ship's own weapons. The Prometheus glowed like a small star as it channeled the alien attack into its defensive systems, emerging from the barrage completely unharmed. "Impossible," Webb whispered, staring at his displays. "Captain, our shields just absorbed the combined firepower of their entire fleet and converted it to energy we can use." "Then let's use it," Sarah ordered. "All weapons, fire at will." What followed was not so much a battle as a demonstration of what happened when 3 different alien technologies were combined with human tactical thinking and sheer stubborn determination. The Prometheus moved through the enemy formation like a force of nature, its weapons reaching out to touch ship after ship with beams that simply erased them from existence. The aliens tried everything in their considerable arsenal. Plasma cannons that could melt asteroids bounced harmlessly off the Prometheus's shields. Quantum torpedoes that could crack planets were absorbed and redirected back at their launchers. Even exotic weapons that attacked the target's molecular structure found no purchase against shielding that existed partially outside normal spacetime. "Captain, they're trying to ram us," Brooks called out as 3 alien destroyers changed course to physically impact the Prometheus. "Let them come," Sarah replied calmly. "Chief Ramirez, bring the dimensional phase generators online." The 3 alien ships passed through empty space as the Prometheus briefly existed in a parallel dimension, then phased back into normal reality directly behind them. 3 more precisely aimed disruptor beams, and 3 more enemy vessels simply stopped existing. Fleet Admiral Korthak appeared on screen again, his composure finally cracking as he watched his mighty armada being systematically destroyed by a single human vessel. "What are you?" he demanded. "What technology is this?" "Human technology," Sarah replied simply, "combined with a few things we learned from species that came before us. The difference is, we actually understand what we're doing with it." The battle continued for another hour, but the outcome was never in doubt. Ship after ship fell to the Prometheus's impossible weapons, until finally only a handful of alien vessels remained. Fleet Admiral Korthak's personal command ship was among the survivors, its crew apparently paralyzed by the complete destruction of their supposedly invincible fleet. "Admiral," Sarah broadcast to the remaining ships, "you came here to conquer humanity. Instead, you've learned why we earned our place in the galaxy. Leave now and never return. If the Dominion Empire threatens human space again, we'll do more than just destroy your fleets. We'll come to your homeworlds and remind you personally why it's a mistake to underestimate human determination." The remaining alien ships fled without another word, their faster-than-light engines carrying news of their defeat back to an empire that had never experienced such a crushing reversal. In the span of 2 hours, the Prometheus had not only saved Earth, but had likely prevented the Dominion from ever again considering humanity an easy target. As the last alien ship disappeared into hyperspace, Captain Chen finally allowed herself to collapse into her command chair. Around her, the bridge crew sat in stunned silence, trying to process what they had just accomplished. "Captain," Communications Officer Park said quietly, "Earth Command is requesting immediate contact. Admiral Rodriguez wants to know what happened out here." Sarah looked around at her crew, 12 people who had been forgotten by their own military, but who had just saved their entire species. "Tell the Admiral that the UES Prometheus is returning to Earth." And Park, "Yes, Captain. Tell him that the age of humanity hiding at the edges of the galaxy is over. We've just announced to the universe that we're not going anywhere." Dr. Harrison looked up from his science station with something approaching wonder on his face. "Captain, do you realize what we've just proven? Human engineering, when combined with technologies we studied and adapted, can create capabilities that surpass even the species we learned from. We didn't just copy alien technology, we improved it." Chief Ramirez nodded, still monitoring power systems that defied conventional understanding. "The efficiency ratings are incredible. We're actually generating more energy than we're using, even after that battle. This ship could operate for centuries without refueling." Lieutenant Commander Webb was studying the tactical recordings with professional appreciation. "Captain, we just redefined space combat. Every military academy in human space is going to want to study these engagement records." As the Prometheus began its journey back to Earth, Sarah Chen reflected on the strange twists of fate that had led to this moment. 5 years ago, they had been exiled to the frontier with a ship that command considered too dangerous to use. Today, that same ship and crew had saved humanity from conquest and announced to the galaxy that Earth was no longer a target of opportunity. The forgotten prototype had become humanity's greatest triumph, and the crew that had been dismissed as caretakers had proven themselves to be the guardians their species needed. As they flew toward home, every person on the ship knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Behind them, empty space held only debris and the memory of an empire's arrogance. Ahead lay Earth, and a future where humanity would never again be underestimated by those who thought conquest would be easy. The age of human expansion among the stars had truly begun.